Hi, I'm Gillian Alexander of Sacred Touch Limited, and I'm just going to speak a little bit about my work. I've had quite a lot of people asking about this on and off over the years. Part of my challenge with telling people too much, it's just it keeps shifting, but that's fine. There's still stuff I can tell you. It doesn't need to be the best kept secret. If you look at my website, what I say there is that I support you to embody your sexuality as a cherished and powerful part of your whole self. And yes, I do work with sexuality. I also work with many other aspects of yourself, sexuality being part of it. The reason I focus so much on sexuality is partly because it gets ignored so often elsewhere, and partly because it's to me, it's that potent life force energy within us. And often when we work directly in through sexuality, it goes absolutely to the core of things. But not always am I working with sexuality, and certainly not always directly with sexuality. In fact, very seldom am I working now directly with sexuality. So most of what I'm doing actually is guiding you back to who you actually are in its fullness. I believe that it's not that what we often describe as teaching isn't about being taught or learning. It's actually about remembering. I really do believe that inside ourselves we have everything. We know everything already, and it's simply a case of remembering. And if you allow yourself to step back a little and actually look at that, I know that you'll have experienced times where it was clear, I know this already. And I'm always a little bit skeptical when somebody is saying, right, I have something to teach you and you know nothing and I'm going to enlighten you. These are the people I would tend to sort of walk away from, because they're not people I feel I can learn from. And anybody, so for me, when I'm in that space of I was about to say when I'm in that space of learning, when I'm in that space where others may be learning from me, I'm also in a space of learning from them. The day I think I know it all, I've either completely lost it, or maybe I've got enlightened, but you never know. So, yeah, anybody who really thinks they know all there is to know about anything really has lost the plot a little bit, I would say. So, what I'm doing is actually supporting you to come home to who you actually are and in fullness. So it's about clearing those blocks in you. It's about clearing interference. So that interference can come within you. So you may have places that you've locked down, you've blocked away. I joke about people's dirty little secrets, because actually they're, great. Let them come out and get a bit of air, and funnily enough, they don't look quite so scary in the daylight. How many things do we hide away from others, and hope that others don't ever find out about them? How many experiences that we've had do we sort of try and hide away? So it's about helping with some of that stuff. Sometimes experiences we've had which may look to the casual observer as absolutely frank trauma. Each person will experience it in their own way. So I've known people who have experienced things that I'm sort of going, okay, right, fine. You seem to be dealing very well with this. Really, and they've taken it in their strides, relatively speaking anyway. You only need to look at some of the cases of people who've experienced their whole family being slaughtered in front of them and actually come through okay. We've all got different ways of dealing with stuff. And that's not to say that somebody else, and then somebody else is going to deal with that in the same way at all. But I've also seen people who have had experiences, and they may look relatively mild to others, but for them they've been a huge piece, and has impacted on them really, really deeply, for whatever reason. There's lots of different reasons that can be. So it's not about dismissing anything or having any expectations of the impact of things. So I will support people through that, to start releasing some of this stuff. And you might want to just check out my recording on de-armoring for some of that stuff. But or better still, come to one of my workshops, because there you will start. Most of us learn much better if we actually have the somatic, i.e. in our body, experience of things. Our heads can't really comprehend stuff like this. It's like reading something in a book. You'll have an impression of it, but you're never going to have the actual experience. So best to actually start. If this stuff is drawing you, really just come and engage it. I also do offer sessions in de-armoring as well. So that's another route. But if you are interested in experiencing de-armoring, come to the workshop, because you've got a whole weekend of it then. And also then you've got tools available to you to work with yourself and others. So de-armoring is one way I do work with that, and that's just clearing these blocks that we have in our body. And sometimes they can be sort of, you can feel them physically in your body. Sometimes as hard lumps, or sometimes actually almost spaces, but when you sort of engage those spaces, they're painful, physically painful. I also work with how we interact with others, and others may be our friends, family, people who are wandering around in human bodies. It may be other incarnate beings, and also beings that aren't incarnate, or it may actually be fragments of our own self that have broken away, just other energetics. And some of those energetics can really, really impact on us in quite an adverse way, or at least in a blocking way. If you'll know that the easy example is, sort of going for a tea with a friend, and you sort of, when you've had a long chat and they've got stuff going on in their lives, and when you get up, you're feeling exhausted. It feels like they've just plugged into you and just sucked you empty. That can just be emotional draining. But there's also other things that can happen to us as well. We are sovereign beings, but most of us we are potentially sovereign beings, but most of us are not engaging as sovereign beings. Most of us either lean on each other or are dependent on each other. There's a huge amount of codependency in our relationships. I'm not meaning just romantic relationships. Most of our relationships are quite significantly codependent, which means, I'm getting something from the other and they're getting something from me, and on our own we'd be missing something because we're relying on that piece from the other person. Unpicking all of these pieces to sort of come back into our sovereignty is another piece I work with people. I do engage some fairly strong energies at times, and so if people are having experiences where their life is really being impacted big time by, people know, they'll get a sense of this. Sometimes people have a really clear idea, I need to get this cleared, and other times people just have a sense there's something not right here. It can be around other people, or it can be in their relationships. It can be in their houses. It can be through their family lineage. I do a lot of work with clearing ancestral patterns, and a lot of integrating parts of ourselves. So the shadow aspects, whatever we want to try and dismiss and send off into into the wilderness because we don't want it. If we do that, then there's nothing left of us, or there might be bits of us left, but it's not a good plan. I once said to a client, she'd been working with me for a while, so she got where I was coming from, because she just felt that she could fix everything, and you know, once it was sorted, it would be gone. And I said, well, that's fine. I said, you know, just tell me which parts of your body these things are in, and I'll just bring the shears in, and we'll just take them off. And obviously that wasn't, that's not any solution, but it brought it home to her that it's not about getting rid of these pieces. These pieces are us. It's about integrating them, and every single piece of us has gifts. So I do a lot of work around about shadow. I don't scare easy. So I've engaged some, you know, I can engage with some pretty strong experiences for people. I've worked with a lot of clients who've had some very, very strong experiences in their lives, and just watching them coming alive as they start to integrate all these parts of themselves is just amazing. So, and obviously sexuality comes into that piece as well, because often we don't allow our own sexuality. How many of us allow ourselves to be really, really fully engaged with our own sexuality? And that's not about going out and having lots of lovers. It's not about anything really to do with sexual acts of any sort. I mean, I very much engage my own sexuality, and most of the time I'm celibate. I don't need to have a lover to engage my own sexuality. For those of you who've worked with me, you'll know I embody a lot of sexual energy, but it's not about what I do with others. It's not even about what I do with myself. It's simply about being with it. And once that piece comes into place, boy, it certainly changes your life. So yes, and as I mentioned in my last recording, things like shame come into this, and guilt, and all of these kind of things. And this is simply just an invitation to reintegrate. One thing about me is I'm not about judgment. I just love the variety of people. I've worked with all sorts of people. I've met all sorts of people, and you know, sort of, I just think people are amazing. Love working with them, and it's not about certain people are right and certain people are wrong. It's just about that sort of fabulousness of the richness of humanity. So if any of this is resonating with you, and you want to ask more, do get in touch with me. And if it's right for both of us, I look forward to working with you. Okay. Lots of love, lovely. Bye.